And we are back once again on Yankees Hot Stove as we continue here at the winter meetings from Lake Buena Vista, Florida. And joining us, special guest star Joe Girardi. Now, that's the fine print in your contract. We have to refer to you as that.
No, please don't. I'm just one of the people at the desk.
Well, when you were one of the people with us last time, that was Thursday at the Brian McCann press conference. A lot has happened since then. Of the official things, Hiroki Kuroda back and Jacoby Ellsbury aboard. Let's start with Ellsbury. How does he change the dynamic of your lineup?
I think he changes a lot. He's a guy that can hit at the top of the order and put you up 1-0 in a hurry. He's got that Johnny Damon type of skill to do that. 52 stolen bases last year, Gold Glove center fielder. I said you got to worry about him stealing second, you got to worry about him stealing third, and if you're Andy Pettitte, you got to worry about him stealing home, because he's done that against us. But he's a dynamic player, and he can do so many things. Excited to have him.
And you look at what Kuroda has done on the mound for you guys, Joe. I wonder if next season you will think about managing him just a little differently because of the meltdowns he had toward the end. Is he a guy who maybe needs a little more rest throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we're going to have to think about. I mean, sometimes that's hard to do, because you're in a certain situation, you have to win games, and you're never sure what's going to happen in the next start or the one after that. But we were pretty careful watching his pitch count, not letting him go much over 100 on a very consistent basis. But we'll watch that.
Joe, getting back to that outfield and Ellsbury, it's pretty crowded right now. I know Carlos Beltran not official yet, but have you given any thought to what your outfield is going to look like on opening day, assuming that does go official?
Yeah, we've talked about it just a little bit. We'll talk about it internally when everything is said and done and we have all the pieces. But I think the one thing that you can do is you can rotate them. You can DH one of them, every once in a while and try to keep everybody fresh and strong.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the bullpen. It's something you've been very good at dealing with. Are you set with David Robertson as your closer? You think the Yankees are going to look around for a closer?
I think when you look at David Robertson, he's done everything to deserve a chance to close. What he's done in the 8th inning for us has been tremendous over the last 4 or 5 years. So I think he's done everything he has to do to deserve a chance to close, and he's going to get every chance right now. I can't tell you what's going to happen over the next 2 months. I mean, none of us really know, and sometimes pieces just kind of fall into your lap. But I'm comfortable wherever I put David, because I have a lot of confidence in what he's able to do and his ability to strike people out in big situations, his ability to get out of jams. So he's going to get every opportunity.
Joe, as Meredith mentioned, Beltran not official yet, but as we look toward next season, a healthy Teixeira and possibly Beltran as well, 2 switch hitters in your lineup. What does that do for you as a manager? What kind of flexibility does that give you?
Well, it really changes our lineup, because at times last year we had too many lefties in the lineup against left-handers, and that was just the way we were set up because of all the injuries that we had. But anytime you have switch hitters in your lineup, it gives you so much flexibility, and it's so hard to pick. When am I going to use my number 1 left-hander? Am I going to use it on this guy, or am I going to have to wait 3 or 4 spots and use it on this guy? And if you wait, game may be over when you get through those 3 or 4 spots. So I love having the switch hitters.
Joe, when you look at that DH position, for a lot of teams, it's the same guy every time out. But you mentioned the depth in the outfield, also some other guys coming off of injuries that you'll likely DH. How do you manage that position in particular this season?
Well, I think you manage it carefully. I think you try to look a week or 2 ahead, and maybe I'll give this guy a DH day here or a DH day. But that's always subject to change. And we know that, Derek's going to have to take some of his DH days, and you're going to DH Soriano some. He's got some age to him, but Soriano also needs to play the outfield because that's where he's most comfortable. So you rotate it and try to keep people fresh.
You're always growing as a manager. Do you feel like last year, because you had so many injuries that you had to deal with, finding guys spots, Vernon Wells, playing when he's a hot hand, and then, you know what I mean? Like, it was more of a balancing act for you last year. Are you better at that this year, do you think?
Oh, I think I probably learned a lot from last year. I mean, last year was really the first year that I've been with the Yankees that we haven't had a set lineup, and you had to be creative, and sometimes you had to put people where they weren't accustomed to hitting, but that was the best thing for your club, and at times you have to do that. But I learned a lot, and I was extremely proud of what our guys did, how they competed last year.
Joe, there were some important Yankees from 2013 who we definitely know won't be back next season. Andy Pettitte, Mariano Rivera, Robinson Cano. I know 2014's roster is incomplete, but how do you like the moves the Yankees have made so far, and what is your forecast for next season?
Well, I'm excited about what we've done so far. I think that we've added to our club. And you look at our lineup now, it's deeper than it was before, and that's even in losing Robbie. You can't replace Robbie. He's irreplaceable. Second basemen just don't put up the numbers that Robbie did. But we've added some players that are strong offensive players that will give our lineup depth. You know, you're getting a Mark Teixeira back. You should be getting a Derek Jeter back. And our lineup's going to get much longer than it was last year.
Joe, I feel like I spent most of the 2013 season asking you about injuries.
Tea and toss?
Every day it was tea and toss or an injury update. So I have to ask you, what's the latest on Derek Jeter? Is he 100% healthy, and are you fully expecting him to be there?
You know, I talked to him in the last couple days, and he said he feels really good. And everything with his rehab is going well. Everything with Mark's rehab is going well. They're right where they're supposed to be. So I'm excited about what they're going to bring to us next year.
I hate to keep beating this theme, but you talk about Mark Teixeira. He's a guy that's going to want to be in there if he's fully healthy, but is he another guy that you kind of have to keep an eye on? And if that's the case, who might back him up? Would it be McCann or somebody else?
Well, we'll have to see, because there's still some moves to be made. But he is a guy that I'm going to have to watch early to see how his wrist is reacting. You know, I talked to him last night, and he said, he's right where he feels he needs to be. Everyone's comfortable with where he's at, and he's progressing fine. And he'll start really trying to wrap it up in January and start swinging a bat, and that will tell us a lot.
Joe, part of baseball is teams inquiring about players that are on your current roster. They might see an abundance and say, we might be able to pounce in that situation. Brett Gardner is a guy whose name has come up. Brian Cashman says, hey, we're not looking to move him, but we'll listen. What kind of value does Gardner have to the Yankees?
Well, I think he brings us a lot of value. We saw what he did for our club last year and how he got us rolling a lot of times in the first inning by hitting the doubles and the triples and what he was able to do. I think he drove over 50 runs in, played a very good center field. Gives you a lot of flexibility, and we talked about how much we missed him in 2011 with the injury. So I really like what Brett Gardner brings to our team, and he's one of those guys that grinds it out and brings an attitude every day.
Joe, when you look at the pitching staff and the starting rotation in particular, right now, how comfortable do you feel with what you have going into next season, or do you think they need to go out via trade or free agency and bring somebody else
Well,
in?
I think we'll continue to try to improve our club in that area as time goes on. I can't tell you anything's going to happen. We know that we have 3 starters in CC, Kuroda, and Nova, but there's some open spots, and we either need to fill them internally or we have to look outside to fill them, and there's still a lot of time before spring training starts. We've seen deals happen as late as February 1st, 2nd, and a guy ends up being a part of your club. So we're still working.